So another thing I love is that you are a caregiver now. You're your own boss. Um, that's amazing. And so many women that, were lost in sex work for so long, like maybe they feel like, they don't know what they would do. They don't know what they could be good at or how they could make money or survive or provide for themselves or all these things. So how did you build the skills and confidence to be able to do this?
Well, it kind of went back to when I was married to my first husband. His grandmother got stage 4 lung cancer, and they needed someone to take care of her. So I had a good job back then. I was a receptionist at a car dealership, and so I quit my job and I moved in, and I was the full time 24/7 caregiver. They'd never done it before, and something inside of me, like I was born to be that kind of lover, carer, and I took care of her for 3 months day in and day out, everything you could imagine, up to the point of helping her pass away comfortably. And that stuck with me up until like it was 10 years down the road. And something was like, Chrissy, like get out of stripping and be a CNA. That's a small start because I always thought you're not smart enough to do any medical school. You will never be able to be that. And so I went and got my CNA in 3 months, and I wanted to work in the hospital. I honestly just think I was born with that kind of heart. You literally have to be able, you have to have that kind of spirit. You have to be that loving and nurturing person. And as strippers, okay, or prostitutes, we like to make somebody feel good, whether it be on the inside or the outside. And so I took that who I was, the nasty evil part of myself, and turn into a positive. And when I tell you I do it full force, I do it full force to where my family's like, "Did you eat today, Chrissy? Did you brush your teeth? Did you take care of yourself?" Because I kind of got to go overboard, and when I just fall in love with that person or the job, and to the point I don't take care of myself, and my mental health gets in the way. So you don't necessarily have to have a CNA because I get this question a lot. Like, how did you do it? You don't have to do a CNA. Some companies will hire you without it. They just want to know a little bit about your personality and if you can handle that. They are always in need for caregivers.
Mm.
CNA helps with the pay, obviously, and you can get your CNA in 6 weeks, sometimes even shorter. So that's what I do. And now I work for a private person now. I'm just the full time, but I'm actually transitioning out of there. Like I'm not been working because it's my mental health. It's not the job. It's the client and the family. They weren't respecting me, and so I was never home too. That's another thing with caregiving. It's a kind of almost a 12-hour job or longer. So it was affecting my relationship with my son. I might as well have been back out on drugs because I wasn't at his games, and so. But it's a heart. You have to have that kind of heart. You have to be able to be like, okay, I can change a 9-year-old person's diaper or patience. Oh my gosh, you have to have patience, and I love human beings. So
Yeah, yeah.
you, yeah.
I think a couple important things you said there was, like for somebody who's listening to this and like maybe reflecting on what they once loved or what they were once good at, and realizing too that God gives us certain giftings, and
Mhm.
Satan will hijack that. And so when you were doing sex work, you were using your gifting, your God-given giftings, for the devil's kingdom. But then when you were redeemed, I really believe that those giftings can be redeemed as well, and then you just apply it to something that's more serving of the kingdom. So, yeah, and
Right.
that can be anything, so
And when I got free of the drugs, it put it back. God brought it back up, and I love doing it. It doesn't have a lot of pay, but it's rewarding inside. And um, I'm still on my purpose. Like, what is that? My purpose? 40 years old. I love that job. So I think it's a great job if you have the heart and the patience. It is very rewarding too. You meet the most sweetest, cutest people.
mm. So
My husband says he'll be taking. Yeah, my husband's 21 years older than me,
oh,
so that's
man,
why he's here for me. Yeah, so he's like, you'll change my diapers. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna change your diapers.
we'll get there, don't bring it up yet. Oh my gosh. Well, I love too that, he was your your sweet and low daddy, and then God redeemed that as well, and, like, now he's your husband. Um, there's so much there, but I feel like the
Oh
another
gosh, that's a whole 'nother story. Well, we'd
Yeah.
have to have both of us on there one day. It's something.
Yeah, man, yeah, I don't know if you see that very often. I mean, at least for me, when I was in the industry, like, all those guys that I got money from, I never wanted to see ever again, so
Yeah, he was my best friend, and he never judged me, and he lost his wife a couple years prior to meeting me, and so we were kinda there for each other, and he was there for divorces, um, and I put him through HE like I did, and so I know that's why it's God placed us together, and he has grace and mercy for sure. It's definitely a story. We thought about writing a book about it one day,
yeah,
so
that'd be awesome. I could definitely see that selling because that's an
I
in
do wanna see the one thing that people think about is like, "Oh, she married her sugar daddy," like, "Oh, he's got money." No, because I say it on my TikTok, like, I probably had more money when I was single, but even though I was doing a lot of bad stuff, but I don't I didn't marry him for his money. I married him because, for one, God told me to, and he's the most least judging person. Even my ex-husbands, they would still judge me, and he takes me for who I am. I don't ever want to even know about no money, no accounts, and none of that. Like if I was there for his money, I wouldn't work.
Yeah,
It just hurts. It makes me upset because he's older, or he has a very good career. Um, but if he was, 30 years old and he had a good career, what someone say about it? But it's mainly because I'm where I met him. And, I don't ever want to be ashamed of where I met him and where God has brought us, because I know God's still going to do something amazing with our story in the future.
yeah, that's kind of the double-edged sword of the online world. It's like, yeah, you get so much support and upliftment and accountability, but then there's also, the trolls who will come on there and, send all the hate and say things like that. So, yeah, I'm glad that you could share, your truth behind your marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. God redeemed that relationship. So I have
And
2
he's
more
still
questions.
around. Yeah.
So the one is, and I don't know why I feel called to ask this. I kind of shared, what mine was, but I'm curious, what was your hardest thing to let go of from your old life?
Money.
Money.
Money. Because I didn't have it when I was younger, and I thought when I was young, money brought happiness. And I didn't have to work at all. I'd pick up the phone, text a daddy,
Yeah.
call a friend, and I would have thousands of dollars in my account. So when you have money, you can buy drugs, you can buy whatever you want. So money was one of my hardest things to let go. When I got with Jim, I was honest with him. I was still doing OF. I don't know what we could say on here,
Yeah,
but I
you
was
can
in the business of doing that.
say it. Okay.
I was not stripping anymore, but I had only quit stripping probably a few months before when we got together. So, and I had some daddies. So I was still hanging on to that. I was clean and sober, but I was still hanging on to that. And so I wanted to be honest with him. And that was really hard, even when I told him the amount that was coming in. And that held on a lot. And I guess the second thing would be lust.
Yeah.
Terribly. Like, yeah.
Mm.
So when I wanted to go get a normal job, it was important for me to be able to learn how to budget just whatever amount I'm making. And even though today we're connected to the same accounts, I don't even like seeing it because I'm trying to grow up. I'm growing up, and money still is a little bit of a problem, but not where it used to be. Like, I used to think that I had to have money to be happy, but now I know, and it's very important for me to tithe. But that's a whole nother thing with my marriage
Oh,
that
yeah.
God's work out. But I've been tithing for about a year, my check, but that helped me to humble myself. Um,
Yeah.
definitely.
I hear that. Yeah, thank you for sharing that too. And you kind of mentioned a couple things like how you had dreamed of having, the husband that's all, praising and wanting to give and like all these things. And I had the same heart and desires. And so I went through the same thing with my husband. Um, I think it was in Exodus where the Bible says, when we give, one day when your kids ask why, you explain, because this is what God delivered me from. And so when you
Mm.
have such a blatant Exodus story, you're just so grateful and like you want to give. And like this comes from such an overflowing place. And so I've had to learn grace, with my husband and other people who maybe aren't ready for that, that maybe there's still something yet for them to receive before they're
Right.
really ready to start giving in that kind of way, that full way. So I'm always praying for God to just continue to reveal himself to him and just so that he's just overflowing, and that was a big step for me to realize like, oh, maybe my husband maybe there's still something he needs to receive in his heart. So
I
without sharing too much.
understand. I understand. Yes. Um, just remember it's God's in control. Not what
Exactly.
we want instantly, but I'm with you, girl. I want him up there, but I don't it's okay if he doesn't.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yep, I've
But we
had to
will
learn
get down
that
the
too.
tithing. We have it's just we have to do it from the right place though, but that's a large amount for him, and he's having a hard time to be able to that whole faith thing and the whole trust thing.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. We'll get there.
Amen. We will. That'll be another part of the testimony.